Hi, I'm Katie.
And I'm Amy, and this is Monumental, a small show about the big things God does in the lives of ordinary people.
Today we're interviewing Jake Mentzel's grandmother, Ruby. We actually interviewed her about a year ago, and this is going to be a little bit longer episode than our regular episodes, but totally going to be worth it. I'm really excited about this episode. It's not very every day you get to hear the life story of an almost 90-year-old woman. That's not the only reason I'm excited about it. She is a truly godly woman, and if you want to be a godly woman, you want to hear her story.
Yeah, totally. This is a woman who loves God, who loves people, and has just given herself wholeheartedly to serving others her entire life.
And that's what a godly woman is, someone who loves God, who loves people, and is committed to serving others.
Yeah, and she gives herself to accepting from God whatever He brings into her life.
Yeah. This is Ruby.
My daddy was born in 1900. He was a great dad to me and all of us. My dad was a really great guy, and he had a garage. He did everything with cars. He was always sure that we did what we were supposed to, or we heard about it, which was all right. But a couple of things I'll tell you that he always made a point to do twice a year at least. He would take us to go down to Boonville. They always had a fair every year, and that's the only time he'd ever close the garage down because we'd go there for a whole day.
Right.
That's something he wanted to do because he was always so busy, and every once in a while that he did, that kind of father that he was. I had one sister and one brother.
Okay. What number are you in the line of siblings?
My sister first, and then my brother, and my mother's. My brother was almost 2 when I was born, and he didn't like me at all. My mother said he did not like me at all, but later down in life, I'll go into that a little bit later, but they were really, really good. When I was 10 years old, I didn't want to do anything except stand around and watch other children play. And so my parents finally took me to the doctor, and they found out that I had rheumatic fever. Anyway, the doctor put me to bed for 1 year. I had to stay in bed. I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom or anything. My parents had to take care of me for everything, feed me at the bed, pick me up to take me to the bathroom. And my dad would close his business and come and get me and carry me and take me to the doctor every time the doctor wanted to see me. Anyway,
And you don't remember much of that time?
No, not that part. I don't. I do remember that I was not allowed to get out of bed at all. I had to stay in bed. Anyway, it was something that was very deadly. Another boy in our school that had the same thing. Matter of fact, his dad brought him to see me one time, and he was never put to bed like I was. And he later passed away from it. It was something that would take your life away. And then I know when I was getting better, it was around Easter time because I wouldn't be able to go to Sunday school. And Dad always got me a new dress for Easter. Someday I said something to Mother. I said, well, this is the first time for me, isn't it? And the next thing I knew, I had a new dress hanging on the window or on the wall to show me it was my new dress for Easter. Whether I could go or not. So that shows you the kind of parents I had. They loving and everything, because that was all. And I have to say my brother and sister as well, because they were all right there for me, even though I really didn't notice them at that time.
They were giving you hope, trying to give you hope.
Oh, yes, yes. They really were.
So did you ever get up, like if you did have to get up to go to the bathroom or anything like that?
I remember my mother picking me up and taking me, and as I was, one time when I was getting much better, I remember she did that, and I had developed, I don't know which arm it was in, but one of them wanted to do this all the time.
Shake.
And shake and shake, and I would ask my mother for somebody to come in to see it. I'd ask her to please hold it so nobody could see my arm shake.
Wow, yeah.
And then the doctor wanted to see me because he thought I was doing pretty well. I don't know about that. But anyway, my dad had his garage, and he didn't take me till late because he had to take care of his garage.
Right.
Anyway, it was the doctor said he wanted me to come, and so when we went in, some of these things I can remember in my mind. I could just look at you and see exactly where I was and that. But anyway, I remember my daddy carrying me to the car and putting me in the car, taking me up. And whenever we got there, the doctor was in his office with the door open.
So you still were not even walking, correct?
Not at that time,
right.
No. So anyway, my dad took me in, and he put me in this seat over here, and then he went over here. Sat there for a few minutes. The doctor talked, and he said, he called me Toots, I think that's what he called me. He said, Toots, I want to see you walk over here to me. And I did.
Wow.
I got up and walked to him, and he said, he called me his miracle child. He said he never ever thought I would live.
Walk again or live.
And so
that's amazing.
That was a big thing for me to get home.
Oh, yeah.
I think Daddy did carry me in because I was tired.
Sure, sure.
He had me to lay down in the bed for a little while. And when they got ready for supper, because they had me in a bed where I could look into the kitchen and see them every time. So he had told them, and they were all sitting at the table, my mother and both of them and my dad, all of them sitting there waiting for me to come and walk.
They wanted you to walk
come
in.
have supper with them.
And I walked into the kitchen to have my first meal with the table, and everybody was just thanking God.
Oh,
of course.
That is really
I don't know if
neat.
my brother did that later when I put him in. I just wasn't very mean to him. Not really. Not really.
But at that moment,
The thing with my brother is the fact that I had something start with him that maybe wasn't the best thing, but my mother, I did not know this for a long time, but when I was able to go to Sunday school, my mother painted a picture for me that when he was going to go with me, first time I was going to go, and I didn't know what she told him, but I had a picture that she had showed me that when he was walking back with me to take care of me, he was holding his hand on my back like this. And so from then on, there was all things he was always doing for me, and I got a thing about calling him my,
What did you call him?
I'll tell you in just a second. I tried to quit calling him that. I called him my hero. And so that didn't go over too well later on, but it was just a habit that I always did.
He became your protective big brother.
And actually he was, because I don't know what all my mother told him at that time, but he did develop that, and I just started calling him my hero all the time.
Aww.
I did find out from that, though, that he did still really look out for me.
I'm sure.
Any guy that wanted to date me, he wanted to know anything about him, and I know one in particular he told to leave me alone.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's all that, but my sister, she was, I went to be with her when her husband had to go in service when the war was on, you know, and my dad, remember him coming in and saying he had come in and had the radio on. And he said, let me have that. And he said, well, guys, we're in war. And that's when my sister's husband had to go into the service. She was expecting her first baby at that time.
Wow.
And that summer I went up and stayed with her and helped her with taking care of that. And I was staying with her during the summer and helping her with her father-in-law because her father-in-law was very unable for some different things. And so I went up to stay with her. And whenever she knew she was needing that, we called and took him up. And I was standing there beside her when she had her in her bed and got the baby and brought her in.
Well, if we can back up a little bit to you recovering from rheumatic fever, you would have been about 11 or 10 or 11 or something at that point.
Yeah, I've been around now 9 or 10, somewhere along in there.
So then you would have gone back to school and finished up school.
I went right back into school there, and then I finally got a good job at Meade Johnson, had a good shift. I worked on night shift, second shift. But during that time, I liked to read. I always liked to read, and so I'd sit outside and on the porch, little porch there, and read. And that's the first time I ever saw him, except that he was across the street, and I seen him get in a car with these buddies sometime, and didn't think anything about it.
He lived in the house across the street from where you lived?
Yes.
Okay.
But anyway, I didn't really pay attention to him, and I was just concerned about getting a job, going to work and everything after school. Well, the really thing is with him was the fact that I had seen him out a couple times with his dad playing with a ball or something.
Yeah.
But my mother was the one to see him first.
Okay.
And because he would be out there whistling.
Oh.
And see, I worked on second shift, and he was on a day shift, so I didn't see him
Totally
very
missed
much.
each other.
Yeah.
So anyway, she said she'd see him out there so much with his dad and whistling, talking about how much he whistled. So that one day I was sitting out it was a Saturday, he and his buddy, they were always together.
Sure.
I was sitting there reading my little book, and they walked in. He asked me if I'd mind he'd like to ask me something, so he asked me about a date that night. And I said, well, I'll have to ask my mother and see whether or not she needs me for anything, and I'll let you know. At that time, that's when Mother told me about him all the time. So anyway, I went to a neighbor's and called him and told him that I would. The first thing, when he got me to the car, God just told me, this is the man that you'll marry.
Wow.
And I think perhaps, even though he probably didn't think that like I did ask him if he would mind if I called him Lee. His name is Leroy. You know that, I'm sure.
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
I asked him if he would mind if I called him Lee. I said, because my sister, her brother-in-law's name is Leroy.
Oh. Didn't want to get things confused.
We went to a movie. It was always a foursome.
Okay.
Her name was Gloria, and his name was Walt.
Okay.
So, and they were buddies forever.
Okay.
They were both in the National Guard, both of them. Everybody worked. I worked,
Yeah.
We just kept dating. We started dating at 18. I was 18, and I was 23 when we got married. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
In that area.
About 5 years or so?
Yes, just about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
His dad died in the interim, which made it more difficult for us because he had 3 sisters and his mother. The one was actually his niece. And
Okay.
the other two were his sisters. His parents had taken care of the little girl that
Right.
needed help. So
So you dated for 5 years, and then he proposed. And
well, I tell you, that was a double proposal.
oh,
Well, the fact of the other couple, they came and told us that they were going to get married.
you're good friends. You've been
Gloria and
Yeah,
Walter.
Gloria and
Walter.
Walter, they
Right.
had decided to get married. Mm-hmm. And so Lee and I were in the car after they left, and Lee he just said, I don't see how we can get married. He said, because I have my mother to care for and my sisters. And he said, I just don't see how we can. So, something I would have never dreamed of, I said, what do you want to do? I said, are you just not going to do anything else? And he said, I just can't afford to. He said, I'm going to have to move the way it is. They were going to have to move from the little apartment where they were. They had to go there after his dad died. So anyway, he said, well, we're going to have to buy a house. And he said, I don't know how we're going to do that. And I said, well, I'll tell you, I think I told him I had $1,000 in my savings. And he said, well, that's exactly what I got in mine. And so we decided to get married. We both told our parents and that, of course, and my mother and dad were real pleased. I know God. I have always said it was God because the fact that we were able to take the money that we had and we found this nice little house that we could afford to just put down and make payments
on it.
for it. And this nice little 3-bedroom house right down from the school where his little niece would go.
Okay.
And his other sister was in high school. And then the other sister, who was older, she ran off and got married with the guy she was going with.
Okay.
So it left us with... She still came over for help sometimes, but that made us have... his sister could have her own bedroom, and his mother could have her own bedroom, but her little niece wanted to be with Grandma, of course.
Right.
And then Lee and I took the front bedroom. And the night before we got married, and of course I had to sleep on the floor at home. That's just a funny... I'm like that. I have to be silly every once in a while so I don't go nutty.
Crazy.
That's good.
Keeps you
But
sane.
anyway, we just worked together on getting things done. And
So you said, let's put our money together, buy this house. I'll help you take care of your family.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what it was. And I'm telling you how the Lord worked, okay?
Please. Yeah.
Because everything just worked beautifully for everything, and we got with the other couple, and we all decided on having a double wedding.
Oh,
And
How did that happen?
I mean, well, we were together as couples.
Just great
we were
friends. Yeah.
friends all the time. Well,
Right.
Lee and I hadn't talked about it because we knew we loved each other enough to be married, but we knew where he was at too.
Right. He had a lot of
Because he was working at that time.
responsibility.
He was working like about 3 different places, just trying to keep things
Make
going.
ends meet.
Because having a family, his dad was gone, and
Right.
yeah.
so I just I've said this before, and I'll say it 1,000 times if I have to, that God was in control of us. Because we always asked God everything that we did. We finally got things done, and Lee's mother wasn't too happy about it because he had the girlfriend he had before me. She just fell in love with her. And I recall this. This is behind things, but it's still all comes together.
Sure.
One day, Lee wanted to take me over to meet his parents. So he told me afterwards that his dad told his mother that I would be the girl he married. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't happy because she liked the other girl so well.
Oh.
But anyway, everything came so beautiful, and got everything together. And one of the girls that I worked with at Meade Johnson's, when she found out I was dating with Lee was dating, she just had a big fun. She said, "That's who gave me my first kiss." And I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I always said I'd be 20 years old before I ever let a guy kiss me." And she said, "My mother had a big party there for us, and Chris, for her being
20.
Being 20, and so he was invited. And I don't know. And anyway, when it come time for her being kissed, she chose him to kiss her. And she just said,
Wow.
And they never
Old-time version of Spin the Bottle.
Kiss in the 20s.
They never did go in together. They just were friends.
Right.
So
Just,
funny.
But she picked him
yeah,
to
but
give
that,
it.
whatever. He probably was the one to, I don't know who, if she chose or he
Yeah,
chose.
how it exactly worked out.
But the thing I will tell you about, when she found out we were going to get married, she had gotten married just not too awfully long before. But when she found out we were going to get married, we were neither one because of no money, you know.
Right.
We didn't have to feel like taking money for me getting a dress. And she said, "Ruby," she said, "I want you to have all my
Wedding clothes.
everything I got married in." She said, "I want you to have it to do so." She said, "I want you to use it, please."
That's sweet.
Because she and I were about the same size.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she had all that, even the shoes and everything
Wow.
that fit me. So it was just really nice. But we had a really nice wedding, just the two of us, double wedding. And we even went on this together to go.
Honeymoon.
Yes, we did that too. And we got married May the 2nd. And in July, on my birthday, he was leaving to go to service. He had been called in. He was in the
National Guard.
National Guard, and he was called in because he had something that he did.
That they needed him
he
for.
couldn't tell me what it was, but
Okay.
anyway, something that he did.
Skill he
He
had.
was one that was skilled for what they needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on my birthday,
your birthday.
yeah, and right before that, not too long, I told him, I said, "I think I'm pregnant," and he said, he wasn't a bit unhappy about that. I think he was shocked like I was, but anyway, it was, neither one of us got upset over it. I mean, we didn't. It was just part of our love and love together. And
Did you know how long he would be gone?
He did not know.
Okay.
No. He was so excited about me going to have a child. He had to go tell all his buddies about us going to have a child. He was so happy about it. But the only thing he wasn't happy about was the fact that he wouldn't be there.
Right. Yeah.
But he left on my birthday. His sister and I became really close. And we walked down. At that time, we had a train station, in Evansville. She and I walked down there to see him off.
Okay.
And but then after that, we just she was still in school.
Right, she was in high
And
school.
so she would go to school, and then the little girl go to school, and I think she was old enough she could walk down because it was so close. She could just walk.
Right.
all of that was just, work and everything working
you
out
can
all
work.
right. And,
Do you remember much about what you
I'm sorry?
Do you remember much about what you were thinking at that time when I'm pregnant? I have to take care of my mother-in-law and my niece, and my husband's gone, and I just got married. Do you remember?
No, I remember just going to work and taking care of the house, and his mother did some of the cooking.
Sure.
Till
How-
I decided to, because her cooking and mine was a little different. And
How were things between you and your mother-in-law? Because
no
when
problem at all.
Okay.
No problem.
Because she wasn't too thrilled when she found out he was dating you, but then how did things go from there?
After a while of us being together and Lee gone, I know how much she loved me because she had told somebody. She had told somebody. I remember ask her about me, and she said, "Oh, I love her." But anyway, she asked me one thing one time, if I would promise that I wouldn't let them put her in
A nursing home?
a nursing home.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, I cannot promise you that. We don't know what the Lord's going to have for you. And I cannot promise you something that I could not fulfill. I said, I just cannot promise you that. I said, I'll do everything to help you I can, but I will not promise you that. And I think from that time on, she didn't ever ask again. And when, I don't recall how many years we'd been married yet, but anyway, she had, one day she'd had a stroke. Those things lead. But she didn't have another one until quite a while later. And then, but when she did, from that time on, the strokes took her. I mean, she just had them. She had several, and they tried to get her on her feet, and she couldn't. And they said they were going to have to put her in a nursing home, that they just couldn't keep her like that. And his brother had come up then, his brother Vic. He and his wife had come up, and so that morning we went to breakfast, and we had all around the table, and we prayed that if it be God's will, that he would not allow her to go into a nursing home. And so when we got back up to the hospital, they said they weren't going to be able to move her. She was just having one right after the other, and that they couldn't take her out. And that's where she passed away. But we just considered that, even though it hurt, it considered that it was God's will. He didn't let her go where she didn't want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know where she went. So that was good. And then it's just, from then on, it was just seems like my dad, my brother, and different things. And I know I'm going ahead of myself, but
Do we want to go back?
I have to do it as it comes.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
No, that's fine. Can we back up back to when Lee had left and you were
Okay.
pregnant with Karen?
Okay.
Was he still gone when you had the baby?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
One of the first thing I asked the doctor was, when he came in, if they called and got
If they
for
had called
to
Lee.
come. And they said yes,
Oh,
that
good.
they had called. So anyway, I had to, they took me home and got me into bed. And it was Valentine's Day. Lee walked in the door and had a box of candy, and to meet his daughter.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
But she was a really good baby. And
Was he able to stay home for a while then? Or?
yeah, I stayed with her for as long as I could. I had to go back to work.
Okay.
And,
But Lee, your husband, was he able to stay
yes.
home for a while?
Oh, yes. He was home for just a few days.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't recall how many. We just were at home because I couldn't get up and go any place at that time.
Yeah.
That time they kept you in bed for
They
quite
did.
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a short visit, really.
Yeah,
Where
it's
he just
not
got to
that-
come and meet
Yeah,
his baby and go back.
yeah.
Do you
How
remember-
old was Karen
Yeah.
when he came home?
I can't remember exactly. When he came home, he wanted me to meet him. I had kept a picture of her dad by her bed. Mm-hmm. And I always showed her every day, that's your daddy, that's your daddy. She did not like a man to touch her. See, there wasn't a man in the house at all.
Oh, right.
And
So she was about how old when
he
came home?
got out, she was walking.
Okay.
Yeah, she was walking. I guess she was 2. And she still didn't like men. But anyway, I got on the train with her, took her up there with me to wherever it was.
To go pick him up?
Well, that was just fine. And when we got there, I got her out of the train and got down and set her down. And she looked at her, and Lee was there waiting. And he just stooped down and talked to her. He didn't try to
Pick her
take
up.
her or anything.
Yeah.
Of course, I had told her, we were going to go see her daddy and talk to her and everything. But when she seen him, she just looked at him because he didn't touch her. And so when we got ready to go ahead and go, then I just took care of her. And this couple that he had been with in service, he had his wife had met him there in a car. So we were going with them, and we was going up into the mountains. And so we went up, and she got sick.
Oh, no.
And we got her back. She had the chicken pox.
Oh, no.
So we had to get some place to
Yeah.
get her.
To a doctor. and-
Chicken pox, or I think that's what it
Measles
was.
or
Anyway,
something.
she just couldn't be, and we couldn't
Yeah.
do anything
Yeah.
with her. And so we got back, and we had to wait to be able to come home until she was not any longer
Contagious?
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
could, So we got home, and then everything from that point, it was just wonderful because she had taken it up with her daddy, and he was everything to her. We had a lot of good days.
So what did life look like for you as a family now after he's back? You have Karen.
Okay, we were doing just fine. I think he had to go back to the,
National Guard.
he
Mm-hmm.
went back into the National Guard for a while.
Okay.
And then he decided that he was going to not go anymore. He resigned
End
from
his
that.
term and be
Yes.
done. Yeah.
After he got back, and he went back to work, he got laid off. They closed down on him too. I knew I was pregnant. I don't recall how far along I was, but I remember that everything just wasn't right.
Seemed off.
And so talked to the doctor and went there, and he said that I was going to have to go to bed because you just can't do that. And so he gave me some medication, I guess, but the only thing I could do was get up and go to the bathroom. Other than that, I had to stay
bed
on
rest.
the bed. That's when his place of work, they closed down. So we had no income really coming in. I wasn't at work, and he wasn't. So he kept going and finding. He has a lot of different places that he worked. But all the time then he started with the police department because he knew a lot of the guys there, and he got into that, and so we were him sitting there helping me, and because I couldn't get up and go and everything. Only thing I could do was get up and go to the bathroom. He was born, and I don't recall how long we had to keep him in the hospital, and then not too long. Michael, we had a lot of times that We had a lot of trouble. He had a lot of problems that we had to take him different places and have different things done for him to help him. We made it, the good Lord gives you what you need when you need it. Then later, as he got on the police department, it was different, different hours and everything, but everything worked right in the line like it was supposed to. And when he came on the police department then, and the kids were starting school, we were both home. I was home, and then he got a lot of different little jobs that he was getting. And I can't recall all of them, but at least he was just really working hard.
Right, yeah.
And
his mother was still with you all?
Yes.
And was anyone else still there? Was the sister or the niece still living with you, or had they grown up by that?
We had the one sister till she graduated. The other little gal, she went to the sister that was the older sister, which was her mother.
Right.
All during this, when Lee was working so much. As soon as we finished all the running we had to do with Michael to help him, he was just fine. We never had any more problem with him at all. Anyway, they were both in school, and Dad was still doing all this with work. And one night they were both in bed, and Michael was crying. And I went in there and I said, "What's wrong, son?" And he said, "I want my daddy." So I soothed him and talked to him. And so at night I stayed up and waited till Lee got home from work. And I told him, I said, "I'm going to go out today and look for a job." I told him I said, "I can't sit here and him cry over you not being able to be there for him at all." And so I got didn't take me any time. I got a job at Consumers National Life Insurance. I forget exactly. It's been so long since I've done this. But anyway, they had a job open for me, and I went right in and did the job, and I was open. I just worked days when they were in school.
Yeah.
And he was home at that time, and he'd get them home from school. It just worked so beautifully.
That's great.
It just made us have a happy family, everybody together. When
And
they
the kids
were in
could
school,
see their dad more. And
yeah, one of us was there. Of course, Grandma was still there too.
Right.
I worked with them for a long time. They were really good, and I was doing well. So one day they called me to come in his office after work. He told me that they were going to move, and he wanted me to go with them. And I said, "Where at?" And it was another state. I don't recall what state it was now, but a different state. And I said, "I don't think I'm going to leave Lee here and do that." And he said, "Well, he can be a cop down there just as well." And I said, "No, I don't think so." I thought, well, I'll just sit home and be home for a while. And Karen came home from school. She graduated that year from high school. And she said, "Mom," she said, "the school corporation's got a place. They said something to me. They think I'd like to go do that." And she said, "I won't want to do that." So I thought, well, I think I'll go try it.
Maybe I'll try it. You don't want it, I'll take it.
Well, she kind of pushed me to do that.
Oh, did she?
She did. I went and was asked about it, and they had the gal that had the job. I worked for her, and she liked me, and we did well together. And I'm just showing you how God has worked with me in my life.
Yeah.
Because I put him in everything with that.
Yeah.
He just always provided the right things for you guys at the right time and for what your family needed.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because it was a job that I really enjoyed.
Well, I want to go back to some other things about ways that you have cared for people. So jumping forward a little bit, once both your kids are grown up, Michael had 2 sons, Jake and Matthew, and you cared for them when Michael was going through a divorce.
Yes.
Would you talk about that?
I was his mother. My mother was his mother. Lee would be there when he could. In the evenings, when Mike would go to work, anytime he had to go to work, then one of us would be there at least. During the day, my mother would have him. I think they fell in love with each other, both of them. He loved my mother just as much as I did. She was a great mother. Lee and I were both working at that time. And so in between us, when he was working, then I was there. Or if we were working the same time, we'd get my mother to take care of him. Whenever the days my mother kept him, either Lee or I, one or the other, would be going to get him during the day. Whichever one of us got out first, because some days Lee would be on night shift a lot then. Right. So if he was on night shift, then he would be the one to get him and have supper ready when I got home, and then he'd go on to work, and we just had it pretty well worked out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you could help take them to school and pick them up, and
Lee did all of taking them to school. Yes, because he was home in the day. He worked at night, and at days I was working, so he would take them to school and that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if I got him during the evening, then when he got home from work, then he was there with us, and in the morning we just worked together, and Lee would take me to work then, and I think we teased him here a while back, Jacob or both of them maybe, that Lee would always say, "Well, I'll have to get the boys out there. They're still asleep." And so he'd get them out there and just get them all in there, and they were asleep. And we'd get about a block away, and we'd both hear them both jiggling.
They weren't really sleeping.
We did that. We did that. We sure did.
They like to tease, huh?
Yeah, that was... We had a lot of time with the boys, and we're close to both of them. They're just like our sons. Their daddy has been a great dad to them. He was a great son to us, and he's been a great dad to them. I'd put the boys to bed, and then when Mike got off work, he'd come in. And get them. And he'd just come in and get, with there. And we just worked it all out for it.
Yeah.
They could be with their dad as much as they could, and we could be with taking care of them. Yeah. And of course, their mother came in every once in a while during the day for having them for a while. It's just you love them so much, you just want to do for them and have them, help them, and that's what we tried to do. And I think we've been both of them pretty close together, close to each of us. They're just like sons to us, more than grandsons. They are. We know they are grandsons, but they're just like, Lee had been wanting me to retire so we could do things, because he had already retired everything.
Okay. So you worked there several years.
I can't remember the exact time. It was quite a few. The only reason I did retire, though, was because of Lee.
Yeah, you wanted to.
He said, I've been retired now, and we want to have some more time together and that. And
so
he probably knew he probably already knew some things that he probably didn't want to talk about or whatever. I don't...
About his health?
think it was right then that it was, but he was tired of being by himself and going back and forth, because his mother had passed away by the time at that time.
Okay. Well, that's something I wanted to come back to, is this sort of theme of your life of caring for other people, from the time that you got married,
Actually, I really have, and I've never regretted one iota of it.
Okay, so just to make it clear, by the time Lee's mom died, you had cared for her for over 40 years, along with his sister and niece for part of that time. And then you care for Michael's sons, Jake and Matthew, and now you retire, so you and Lee can spend more time together, and it seems like his health is starting to decline. So what happens next?
He had a doctor Bernie's eyes. He was a great driver. This is another thing he was going through with all the other things. He was having trouble with these eyes, and they kept doing this and doing that. And then the last time he went in there, he said he heard the doctor telling the guy that was holding him that he needed to be different. He needed to be up higher or something. They were telling him, they kept turning
They were doing some kind of treatment.
to his eyes, and it was burning them.
Oh, my.
And when he made up the last time, the doctor brought it up the next time, he had it over it, and he burned his eyes.
Oh, my word.
My.
And
So was he completely blind then?
no, he was not blind, but it took away a big part of it.
Yeah.
Got afraid to drive,
Yeah.
which understood, and I had never driven like that.
He usually drove, I'm
He
sure.
was a great driver, and every time we'd go someplace, and he'd pick me up from work. He
Right.
said, time I got to the railroad track, you were already asleep. But when we were taking care of my mother, before she wanted to go live with us,
Okay.
that he was driving. They had property and a big house, and we were both doing that mowing. I was driving just the regular thing, you do, push it and everything, but they had one that a riding mower. And when he was driving this mower, I kept watching him, and he kept getting that mower too far down for him to get control of it if he started to go over there. So I didn't say anything to him then, but later on afterwards I talked to him about it, and I said, Lee, I know that you're a great driver, and I said, and you know what's going on with your eyes. And I said, I know I'm not a good driver. I never have been saying that I was. But I said, I know God's going to be with us, and he's going to protect us and take care of us. Something to that effect anyway.
Yeah.
And he had no problem. He never ever said a word about me doing so. And I said, I think we really should talk to my mother. I said, we just can't do this. I said, I'm going to start driving. I said, we're just going to talk to Mother if she won't just go on in this with us. And which was really a pleasant. See, to me, that's just how the Lord works. Because with her house being there, she wanted to be there because that's where my dad died, and she wanted to be there. But whenever I told her what I felt, she was ready to go with us. And we had no problem. The first person we called about selling her home, Lee did not want to sell it because we liked it so much, and it had so many
Family
wonderful
home.
Christmases there
So
and
many
everything.
memories. Yeah.
And all of our families, because all of our families, it was the only home that we ever had that we could all get together. And it was hurtful. It was hurtful for all of us.
Yeah.
Whenever my mother agreed that she would go with us, I didn't know about something because she kind of kept her things. She was always that way, though, and I'm kind of like that, too. I'm not really going to complain unless I think it's really, something. But anyway, we were down in Florida. We'd go down there a lot we started going down there for him to go to VA down there because they didn't do everything here at that time. So we took him. That's where we'd go and take him down there. So we were down there in Florida a lot, so we got this little villa. But anyway, Karen, she called and she said, Mother, Dad, Grandma's in the hospital, and the doctor wants to talk to you about her. So I talked to him, and he said, we're going to have to move her to a nursing home. He said, there's no way that we can do anything more for her. And he said, you need to get home. And I said, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And Lee and I don't know what happened to all the food and stuff. We just left.
Got up and left.
And came home, came back, and got it taken to her, and she just was so pathetic looking. She just broke my heart. But anyway, I went to looking for homes, and I just didn't like any of them. And I finally realized that my sister's 2 daughters were working at the one in Gentryville.
Okay.
They had a home there, and both of those girls were working in it. I said, if I can get her in there, that's where I'll get her. I said, she's got 2 granddaughters here.
That are there.
That if there's anything, they can call me. Lee and me, I'd go up and see her all the time. And the last day we went up there, they said she wasn't feeling very good. She always liked you to kiss her. And when I got up there, the girl said, Grandma, well, first off, it was Mother's Day weekend. And Lee and I had gone up and taken her some flowers and told her, well, we wanted to go ahead and tell her, come up and see her before we see her tomorrow on Mother's Day.
Right.
They had told me that she didn't want them to touch her and kiss her anymore. And I thought, now that's is
weird.
a good something.
Yeah.
I knew she wasn't herself.
Yeah.
But they told her, if they kissed her, she said it hurt. So I knew something was really bad going.
Yeah.
She always called me her big baby. And I know when we went in with the flower, I said, all your big babies here. And Lee always said something to her. But anyway, from that time on, when I left, she was still awake and seen us, but she just didn't want to talk or anything. But when they called me, we just got back to the house, and Karen said we needed to get up there, that she wasn't going to live. So we got Karen and Michael and got them to get up there, and we all stayed all night, and she died on Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, everybody was saying, Happy Mother's Day. And the next minute, she was gone. So anyway, it's just so many good things, but...
So this is about the first time in your married life you didn't have someone other than your husband to care for.
And really about the first time that it was just you and Lee.
I was just his wife taking care of him at that time.
Okay. Now, just so the listeners understand what was going on with Lee, he had diabetes, and I believe he'd had a stroke.
Yes.
So you were home to be able to take care of him.
Yes. By the time that he had to have me with him constantly, I think all of my family was gone. But I did ask the doctor how long he would give him. And he said, be about a year.
Okay.
And
so this is now when you were retired, both of you.
I had been for a long time.
Right.
Nothing. I was just with him. We just did things together whenever we wanted to go drive over here, drive over there. But then at this time, I was driving him here and there for
doctor's appointments. And
help.
Right.
Doctor, help. And they did help, but for a while, of course, nothing lasts forever. Every day, he wanted me to take him down to McDonald's for breakfast, and we'd split a sandwich. We got to where Lee had so much trouble getting in and out of the seat and getting in and out of the car and all this, because he was using a walker and he was having a lot of difficulty walking. The day Lee just really had a hard time, and there happened to be some other gentlemen in the McDonald's where we were every day, and he was they finally, I think 3 of them finally helped to get him into the car, and he had so much difficulty, and I was watching and just crying. I just could hardly stand how he was having to be. We got home. And I just asked the Lord to help me, and he helped me get him out of the car into the wheelchair. I finally managed to get him in and got him in his chair. I just kept on doing, and he got to where he asked Karen and Mike to get me some help. He said, I think you need your help, so they did. And one lady was just so great. They were all nice.
So it's something like a nurse that would come into the home and help you care for him?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was. They were great people.
Yeah.
And they were just really wonderful.
Were there other things that you had to do for him? I mean, because not having his eyesight, you drove for him.
He had eyesight, but it wasn't good.
Right, it wasn't great.
He was not blind.
Right,
No.
Yeah.
right.
Now, we heard that on Sundays when you guys were in church, since he couldn't read the hymnal.
No, but
what
he
did you
could still
do?
sing.
Yes. So what did you do to help him?
I shut my mouth because I can't carry a tune. His sister let me know that one day when they were there. And I love to sing, but I knew he knew I couldn't carry a tune, but he didn't pay attention to it because he was just great. But so happened I sat next to his sister that day in church, and we got through. And she said, "Ruby, you can't carry a tune in anything." She said, "I don't want to sit next to you again."
But what did you do for your husband in church so that he could sing?
He just knew if they were the hymnals. We had gone there forever, honey. That was the first thing that when we knew that we were going to have a child, we were going to be with God. They were going to learn of God, be taught of God.
Yeah.
And they did. Both of them became Christian in the church, and he just knew all of the songs. And
well, I heard a story. I heard that if you guys came to songs, hymns that he didn't know so well, that you would read the line for him right before it was time to sing it so that he could sing it. Then you'd read him the next one and he could sing it so that he was able to sing the hymns.
I'm not sure how that happened. I don't really recall doing that.
Okay.
I probably stood with him for him to... But most of them were hymns he knew for the most part.
Yeah.
I did a lot of things for Lee that could have hurt me. I would do it again because it was more important to me to help him be at peace when he was not in pain and all that. I did not want him to be in pain. If I could do anything to help him not be in pain and help him. So I know I did some physical things that I probably should not, but I don't regret it at all, and I don't think it's held God against me for doing it either, because I can still go. It's just...
Well, he gave you the strength to be able to do it.
Yes, it did.
Not everybody would be willing to care for people throughout their lives as much as you have or as gracefully as you have. You said a little bit ago you don't have any regrets.
No, I don't have any regret at all about any of them. I just, as long as I'm doing what he wants me to do, I want to be with him on the day when the day comes. If, good Lord willing, still this year I'll be 84. I think I'm 88. I think I'll be 89. Okay, I guess I can learn to add again. I have to act crazy every once in a while. It does me good. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. I really do. I just tell the Lord whenever he's ready. There's some things I'd like to do before I go, but if it's not in his will, then I want his will to be done. I know I belong to him. I'll go when he wants me to go. And when that day comes, I'll be with Lee again and my parents. I got a lot of people up there waiting for me. But I like to help people. I've always been like that. And the other ones, the ones that have been gone, when I feel I didn't do quite like I thought I should. I know I know I've asked that forgiveness, and I know that, but it still hurts me. So,
Well, it seems like from hearing your story that everything that God's presented you with in your life, you've just said, okay, I'll do it. Whatever you have for me, Lord, I'll do it.
if you have God, you're going to love God. You're going to love your people. You're going to love everyone that you have. I'm not unhappy.
Monumental is hosted by Katie Walker and Amy Molina. It is produced and edited by Katie Walker, and it is executive produced by Nathan Alberson and Jake Mentzel. If you like the show, please don't forget to rate and review in the app of your choice. And if you're interested in more great content, including articles and other podcasts, please visit warhornmedia.com.